Camera's rolling?
Rolling.
Okay. And I don't really have a backstory with you, so of course I would try to have a backstory or pre-interview with you beforehand, but we're gonna wing it and we'll see where we go, but I think I can take this somewhere.
Cool.
So Pam, tell me your backstory about filmmaking. Like, how did you get into this field? What's your interest? What was it that made you interested in this whole thing, this whole idea of telling stories and making films?
Okay. I went to UMass Amherst where I graduated, and I kind of went into it not really knowing what I wanted to do. So I took a couple video courses, couple communication courses, and really liked the pre-production part of it, the planning it out, the scripting, the location scouting, kind of gathering everything together, you know, getting your talent, and having the story like on paper. And that's, I think, where my interest or my passion lies, is the pre-production part of it.
Okay, the pre-production, interesting. The planning part.
Yes.
Okay. Before we go any further, just so we take a look here, how do we, and I'm thinking we're a little too much, but we're looking like the glasses are a little too obvious off the nose, right?
Yeah.
You're bugging me. So what we're gonna do is, and I love where you're going here, but we're gonna get there. So what I'm gonna do is this. Let's push them back again.
Do you want me to just take them off?
And we can cut, by the way. No, I don't.
Okay.
Because I want you. All right. But I know we talked about this thing, but can you have it so they don't sit around your ears, but they almost sit on top of your ears, but they still stay right at the bridge there? Okay. All right, so I'm gonna re-ask that question again, just because I like how her glasses are sitting now better. Okay, so now, camera's rolling.
Rolling.
And here we go again. So tell me the story again, the backstory about how you got into filmmaking. I love where you went about pre-production, because that's pretty interesting.
Okay, so I got into filmmaking through my college. I graduated with a degree in communications, and when I started college, I really didn't know what I wanted to do for a career, for a job, and I took a couple of video production courses, a couple of communication courses, and I really fell in love with the pre-production part of filmmaking, the planning, the script writing, location scouting, talent scouting. That's really where my passion lies, in video production.
So tell me a little bit more about the pre-production. This is intriguing. What is it that, what do you think it is that you like so much about it?
The organization part. Can
You caught yourself.
Yeah, can you ask the question again?
Yeah. So, I mean, tell me more about the pre-production side, the planning side. I mean, it's one of my favorites too. But it's something you like more than even post-production, right? It's
Absolutely.
There's something about it. So what is it about pre-production?
So I love pre-production because of the organization that goes into it. I'm a very organized person, so I like to organize all the aspects of it to make the production side go smoothly, and even the post-production part go smoothly as well. I like putting everything on paper, storyboarding, script writing, screenplay writing if we have the opportunity for it, and just that way to help out the production part. If everything's planned and organized in pre-production, doesn't mean that you're not gonna run into problems in post-production or production, but I think it's definitely gonna make your production side a lot smoother than without pre-production.
Nice. Do a little push-up. We're getting falling down a little bit. Okay. So let's go to. Let me ask you a question. Do you do? This isn't an actual question for the interview, but do you do production? Do you shoot and do you edit?
Yes.
To an extent? Okay.
Yes.
So you have. Okay. Good.
Yeah.
So let me ask you a question. As a filmmaker, not even from the pre-production. Well, it could be from any side. As a filmmaker, this is an interesting question for you. Not counting the camera and not counting the lens, what's the most important thing about telling a story through film?
Knowing the most important part of telling a story through film is to know your characters and the story that you want to tell, to know where you want to go with it, to know the beginning, the middle, and the end, to actually have that happen and make it happen. So in post, you're not like, well, where's my start? And you don't have one because you didn't even think about it. Or how's this going to end? And you're fishing for it, and you have to put in another day of production to get to the end of the story that you wanted to tell, but you don't know where it's going to end.
Interesting. That's great. Okay. Another push-up. I might do it for each
That's
question.
cool. Yeah, it does slip.
But it's good. It's all good. And remember, too, guys, my little rule of thumb, like I want to use mostly supporting B-roll. So we might cut for her for a little bit and then we'll cut back. How long have you been doing this? How long have you been in training and doing film?
About a year and a half.
Okay. So, granted, the world, is wide open for you. There's so much more to learn, of course, but at the same time, I'm sure there's a lot you've learned in the last year and a half. Especially, from where you were a year and a half ago till today and the knowledge you have. Well, let me ask you a question. Based on the experience and the knowledge that you have today as a filmmaker, and you see somebody walking in for the first time and just getting excited and wanting to dive into this business or wanting to dive into the art of filmmaking, what kind of advice would you give somebody who was just starting out?
Okay, so one big advice I would give someone that was just starting off.
Let's take it again, but reword that a little bit.
Okay.
Or you might say something like one bit of advice I would give somebody or something like that, because I know I would probably edit that.
Yeah, okay. So one bit of advice I would give someone is definitely to pay attention to your audio. If your audio is distorted to a point that you can't recover it, you're not going to use it and it's going to be junk. Sometimes you can tweak it, but it's not going to be the ideal situation. So if you're, being the audio person and you're booming, make sure that mic is pointed to their mouth and not, towards their chest or the floor or anything like that, and is.
You can pick it up wherever you want.
Okay, all right, let's see here. Papa. Make sure that the mic is also as close to the subject that you can get it without it being in the frame.
Okay. Well, in the end, though, what does this all boil down to with the audio? Come on, is audio that important, really?
Audio is extremely important, and it's probably more important than visuals, because visuals you can reconstruct a little easier than audio. If you're interviewing someone and that person's halfway across the country and you can't get them anymore, how are you going to have that audio or that interview for your story? You won't.
So if you were to end this in the end, about audio, how would you put it? Like, what does this all boil down to?
In the end,
how important audio is?
In the end, make sure your audio is as good as you can get it, so you're able to tell your story the best that you can.
Okay, I forced her to give me an ender, by the way. See what I did? Now, I'm going to go for one more inspirational ender. Maybe, maybe not. We'll see what happens here. So, what is filmmaking for you? Like, why do you do this? Why does this even intrigue you? What do you get out of this? And how do you feel when you finish a project that tells a beautiful story? And what does that do for you?
So the world is made up of stories, good stories, bad stories, and I think that's how a lot of times that we pass on information is through stories. And there's certain stories that deserve to be told. And for me, what that does, it makes me really happy. I mean, it definitely evokes emotion, depending on if the story is sad or happy. I don't really know what I'm saying right now.
That's fine. But remember, this is the trick. You can always wrap it and say, because you started some really cool stuff there. In the end, though, remember, keeping that idea. You don't have to say it, or you may say it, but the idea is to wrap it up with all the feelings, and what does it do for you? Like, what do you get out of it?
So in the end, storytelling, no, that was bad. In the end, storytelling or the story should definitely evoke some kind of emotion. And if your end goal is a call to action, it should...
not even so much what should it do.
But how does it make, how does it make me feel in the end?
Do you another movie, pretty good, I'm going to go watch TV now. Or are you like, I'm so proud of this project. Like, I put my heart and soul into this thing, and it touches people. Like, I love doing this. I want to do another one of these. Like, do you ever get that way?
I like the fact that when someone, watches one of our films, that it brings them...
Let's cut for a second.
Oh,
yeah. A little siren? Go ahead.
I love the fact that when someone watches one of our films, it brings them back to the moment that occurred. And it brings back those emotions that they were feeling when that happened.
And how does that make you feel?
Makes me feel happy and joyful that I was part of their day.
Great. All right, cut. We have an ender.